Welcome, JR.
Well,
thank you for joining us.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate your message, and I know it's a message of giving people a chance. You've inspired a lot of people, a lot of veterans with your personal story. What have you heard from them that suggests there are barriers to re-entering the workforce?
Well, unfortunately, one of the biggest barriers is that a lot of them are being judged. A lot of them are being judged. A lot of them, anybody that goes to a combat environment and is there, whether it's one tour or obviously in a lot of cases multiple tours, there's going to be something different. There is going to be something different from a mental component. And a lot of them feel like a lot of employers or a lot of people will essentially judge them based on that if they come out and speak and say, listen, sometimes I had PTSD due to this situation that happened overseas. And a lot of them just feel that they're put in the box, that you're just a veteran and that's just what you are. And a lot of people won't necessarily sit down and actually listen to them and understand what values and what talents they essentially will bring to the table. Because especially from an employment standpoint, I mean, you look at a company will sit down with the veteran and interviewing the veteran and say, what did you do in the military? Well, I was 11 Bravo, or I was 37, whatever it is. And that employer, unless that employer actually knows about the military, is going to say, and how does that going to translate into this? And it's about just having a dialogue. It's about, just not just shutting it down immediately, not just judgment. It's about essentially having that dialogue and essentially giving a veteran an opportunity, giving them a chance. Don't just look at them as a veteran. I mean, you think of the things that I've been able to do with my life. Become an actor, become a best-selling author, was on a reality show and did well, and I'm a veteran. But I was given an opportunity, because that's the thing about veterans. Once you give us an opportunity, we're going to excel. We're going to excel 100%, and we need to feel like people are there supporting us. And I think that's the thing, is sometimes they feel like they're alone. They feel like people don't support them. They don't feel like people are listening to them. They don't feel like people essentially are empathizing for them, and that's hard. That's difficult when you feel like it's just you in this world and no one else is there to support you.
Mm-hmm. So that said, how can employers become a better match for veterans? What can they do specifically to create a great work opportunity for veterans?
Well, I think what's interesting is that you look at a lot of companies. A lot of companies already have veterans, within their companies. Mm-hmm. A lot of CEOs are veterans themselves. Mm-hmm. And so there's veterans everywhere. Just a lot of them don't look like me. They don't have the physical scars, in a lot of ways, and some of them do. But the point of what I'm trying to get at, there's veterans everywhere. There really are. We're no different than put on this suit the same way you put on yours. Sure. And so the biggest thing is I say to a lot of employers is like, listen, really, there's a lot of resources out there that ultimately kind of help an employer understand exactly what qualities that veteran's going to be able to bring over to your company. I never say to anyone, you just hire a veteran immediately. No, that's not what we're advocating for. We're advocating for us to be in the conversation. We're not advocating for you to kind of give us like, it's almost like it's a tax break, I got to hire a veteran. No, we're asking you just to give us a chance. Let us be a part of the conversation and really try to find ways to create a position for that particular veteran. Because listen, as an employer, if you go that extra mile for that veteran, because that veteran and his family or her family has gone the extra mile for you, mm-hmm. without even knowing you, but if you're willing to go the extra mile for that veteran and their family, you will potentially save that life. Mm-hmm. There's 22 veterans that commit suicide every single day, and a lot of them commit suicide because of the financial impact that they take a hit on when they're injured, when they come back home, they can't get employment, they feel like they let their families down, they feel like they let themselves down, and unfortunately sometimes they feel like it's easier to take their life versus actually dealing with a lot of things because they've already been rejected so many times. They've already been judged so many times. How many times people have said to me, oh, you got PTSD. They just throw it out there. They don't even know what PTSD is, but they throw it out there because they've heard it. They've heard those 4 letters and they immediately judge people on it. And it's like, listen, if we're really being honest here, don't we all have PTSD? Don't we all have issues? Mm-hmm. People get in car accidents every single day and then they can't get into their car. People are abused. And all of a sudden they're fearful of wherever that trauma came from. There's a lot of people that have PTSD in this world. Let's stop judging each other and let's start listening to one another. And I think veterans bring an amazing quality and a work ethic and a team component and an element of just the willingness to drive and to be the best. And there's a component of where they love to be held accountable. Veterans love accountability. There's a lot of people in the private sector that don't do so well with that. And so I just try to say to a lot of employers, like, listen, really seek out veterans, really invite veterans in your community to come and apply. Help them with their resumes. Maybe potentially help them with interviewing skills. Support nonprofits, the legit ones that are using the money the right way, that are helping veterans ultimately with employment. Those are ways that companies can ultimately use their resources to help veterans.
Great. And that was my next question, JR. If an employer was interested in learning more about how they might get started and who they might contact, what would you suggest?
I've been there's a lot of good groups out there that exist. I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to. I leave it up to the pros that are on the boots on the ground, so to speak. It's like, now I'm not the general, but it's almost like the general kind of mindset of like, you have the soldiers on the ground, you talk to them. And there's an amazing organization that I work closely with, and it's called Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. And IAVA, and they essentially what they do is they advocate for veterans through DC, through policies, essentially get policies to pass so veterans and their families can ultimately benefit from those policies that ultimately pass. But they also are teaming up with a lot of companies and talking about the employment issue and essentially helping veterans get jobs. So IAVA.org is their website, and it's a great organization. And so I just encourage whoever's watching this and they say, you know what, I want to do something. I want to be part of the solution. I want the number of 22 a day to go down, to look at IAVA or look at any other organization that you actually feel that you can trust. That's a big thing. Do your research. Don't just because you see it, you get involved with it. Because there's a lot of groups out there that are doing a lot of great things to help veterans get back into that space. And a lot of them, it's about finding their purpose. And an employer can actually help a veteran find that purpose again.
Well, that's a very powerful message, and we appreciate that. If you could say one thing to employers that are watching this video today about bringing a vet into the workplace, what would that be?
I would say that it's not going to be a mistake. It's not going to be a mistake. Don't look at it as like, oh, I'm just, I'm doing him a favor. No, that's not what it is. Give them an opportunity. And I guarantee you that veteran will help your business grow. They're not a liability, they're assets. And we have to start looking at veterans as assets, because if they're good enough to be in a combat environment and to serve this country and do their job and do it well, mind you, they're able to come back to the private sector in the civilian world and ultimately carry out their job and their mission. They're great team players. They're great leaders. They're great role models in a lot of ways. They're individuals that ultimately they think about the mission and they'll do whatever they can to ultimately make the mission be complete. And so I just say to any employer to really kind of ask themselves, have I done enough? Because I haven't done enough, even myself. And I do a lot, but I haven't done enough. Because there's still a problem. 22 veterans commit suicide every single day, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. That employer that's watching this right now, you watching this right now, you can be a part of that solution. So it's your choice. Which choice are you going to make? I hope that you make the one where you're going to get involved and you're going to help ultimately lower that number from 22 to 21 to 15 to 5, and hopefully one day to none.
Thank you for that message on behalf of veterans all over the world, and we appreciate your time, JR.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Right,
it was a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it.